karta narto na karte naha kaschana na kasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyaparsrayaha. Translation: a self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Purport: a self-realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and except activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as will be explained in the following verses. A Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man or demigod. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation.
So Lord Krishna is describing about a self-realized man. In other words, he's already understood his spiritual position. But Lord Krishna is describing that he will work. It's not that he won't do anything. He doesn't have to do anything, but there's no reason why he shouldn't do anything either. And so Prabhupada mentions that a Krishna conscious person, meaning a self-realized person, that he shouldn't be lazy. He should work. He should be active. But he should work in Krishna consciousness. Whatever he does, you do it for the pleasure of Krishna. So we're going to hear, in the next few verses, we will hear more about the self-realized person and how they act, what they do. Examples, Krishna will give some examples also, how they work. He doesn't have any obligation to do it, but why shouldn't he do it? So he will work, and the reason why he will work is to show the example for others. Because if somebody says, well, I'm self-realized, so I don't work, then it will be a bad example for others, right? Because everyone will say, well, I'm also self-realized, I'm also not going to work. And so it's very important that the self-realized people also show the example. All right?
Can you name few examples, Guru Maharaj?
Krishna himself is going to name some. He's going to give, he will mention King Janak Maharaj, that he was self-realized, but he performed his duty, he worked, he did his duty, he ruled. And then Lord Krishna gives him his own self as an example. Lord Krishna says, I also work, I also do my duties. I don't have to do anything. Lord Krishna's the Lord of everything, doesn't have to do anything, but he works. Those are the two examples which are going to be given here in the 3rd chapter. So being self-realized doesn't mean you just sit and do nothing. All right?
Okay, Guru Maharaj, thank you.
Guru Maharaj, the last line, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. It means like he doesn't depend upon, even to survive, he doesn't need to depend upon any other living being. Is it like that?
Nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Yes, you know that because there may be the tendency that people should support me. Everyone should provide for me. Everyone should, they should give me whatever I want because I'm self-realized. I'm a perfect person. So everyone should respect me and you should take care of me and you should honor me and you should provide everything I want. Whatever I ask for, you should give me. So Lord Krishna is saying he shouldn't have to depend on other people. He should be able to take care of his own self. He can look after his own self. He doesn't have to be a parasite. Parasite will live off others. So he shouldn't be like that. He should be responsible. He should take care of his own self, his own needs. He has needs. If he has some needs, then he should arrange his own needs. Not that he has to go and ask other people to do everything for him. And also, a Krishna conscious person won't depend on demigods. People in the material world, they will worship demigods. They want money, they'll worship Lakshmi, they want health, they'll worship Surya, they want rain, they worship Indra, like that. So a Krishna conscious person, he doesn't have to depend on any demigods. He simply, he will depend on Krishna, of course. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness, depends on Krishna. And he wants to give service to Krishna. He doesn't want to take service from Krishna. It's not that he's going to ask Krishna, oh, give me this, I need that. But he wants to give to Krishna. So that is self-realization.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
You can hear the jackals outside? Can you hear
Yeah.
them?
Yes.
The jackals here in Mayapur. It's their time, they wake up. Jackals, they eat at night. They don't eat in the daytime. They eat in the night. So they wake up about this time and they start their howling. Okay, we'll go to the next verse.
Ramya Mataji, do you want to read it? This 3.9?
Yes, Vaishnavi.
Thank you, Mataji.
Tasmad askata satham karyam karma samashara asatohi asharan karma param apanoti purusha. Translation. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme purport. The supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalist. A person, therefore, acting for Krishna or in Krishna consciousness under proper guidance and without attachment to the result of the work is certainly making progress towards the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna because Krishna wanted him to fight. To be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment. But to the act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. That is perfect action of the highest degree, recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Vedic rituals like prescribed sacrifices or performed for purification of impious activity that were performed in the field of sense gratification. But action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reaction of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities, but is completely non-attached.
So this is describing detached work. Detached work we would describe as Niskam Karma Yoga. You see, Lord Krishna is not really describing bhakti yoga yet. He's saying working without being attached to the fruit, one should act as a sense of matter of duty. And when we work without attachment, then you reach the supreme. So this is the power of karma yoga. Karma yoga is the preliminary phase of bhakti yoga. You see, we learn to work for the supreme and working in a detached manner. Of course, it's difficult to be detached from the result because we're very attached with the nature of our lives in this world is full of attachment. So we have to purify that attachment. We have to understand that nothing is actually mine. Everything belongs to God. So Srila Prabhupada explains, the Supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees. For devotees, we understand there's Krishna, there's the Supreme Lord. But for the impersonalists, they think everyone is God. So for them, the Supreme is liberation. Liberation means for them merging, entering into the oneness, becoming one with that Brahman. That is the Supreme for the impersonalist. For the devotees, we think of Krishna as the Supreme, but for the impersonalists, it's Brahman. So a person acting for Krishna in Krishna consciousness under proper guidance without attachment is certainly making progress towards the goal of life. Of course, it's difficult. It's a high stage. Then Prabhupada gives the example, he said, just like Arjuna. Arjuna, he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra because Krishna wanted him. Krishna wants him to do it. So it's just simply to be a good person. You know, we may think, oh no, I don't want to, I just want to be a good person. I don't want to be violent. I want to be non-violent. Prabhupada said, this is personal attachment. We're attached to this. But to act on behalf of the Supreme, to follow the instruction of the Supreme, that is really detachment. That is to act without attachment. And this is perfect action. This, of course, it's a high stage. To follow the orders of Lord Krishna. Then Prabhupada talks about Vedic rituals, like performing sacrifices. They're done to get rid of sinful reactions, to free us from past sins. Because when we all like sense gratification, and for sense gratification, we do things which are not really correct. So we have to atone for them. We have to purify ourselves from the reactions from these sins. And we should do some people would do sacrifices, a Vedic ritual. But better than a Vedic ritual is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of both good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activity, but is completely non-attached. So attachment is there, but the attachment is changed to Krishna. So when we're attached to Krishna, that's not material, that's a spiritual attachment. So this is the point, that the Krishna conscious devotee, he's attached to Krishna. There's still going to be attachment. We can't give up attachment, but we can purify the attachment by changing the attachment to Krishna. When we're attached to Krishna, this is actually detachment from all the material. Is it clear? Any question?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I have a question, Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
When you mention karma yoga about this verse, can we mention to Sankhya yoga as well?
Sankhya
Practicing-
yoga? Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, Sankhya Yoga is more, the primary focus of Sankhya is knowledge. Karma Yoga is activity, just like Arjuna is going to fight. But Sankhya Yoga is based more on knowledge, and then secondary phase of Sankhya Yoga is meditation.
And austerities, right? Okay.
Yes, well, Gyanis, they tend to always be, austere, dry, very dry, renounced,
Okay, I got it. Thanks, Guru Maharaj.
Any other question or comment?
Maharaj, this Sankhya Yoga, is it the one by Lord Kapila?
Yes.
Okay, Maharaj.
Sankhya Yoga is described in the third canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. But there's also atheistic Sankhya Yoga. Lord Prabhupada also talks about Sankhya Yoga in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in analyzing the soul different from the body. He talks about Sankhya. I think it's text 39, chapter 2. So Sankhya Yoga comes up, distinguishing matter from spirit. Okay?
Okay.
Well, go ahead. Vaishnavi?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, if somebody is working just every day, going to office and coming back, doing their duty without attachment, but they are not doing it for Krishna, is it also Karma Yoga, Guru Maharaj, or it's not yoga?
They just go to the office without attached. They're not attached to the result. Well, Karma Yoga, you have to offer the result to somebody. Who are you going to give the result to? There's two kinds of Karma Yoga. There is Niskam Karma Yoga and Sakama Karma Yoga. Niskam Karma Yoga means detached work, and Sakam Karma Yoga is attached work. But Karma Yoga, generally people are attached to work. They like their work. They want to do this work. They like to do this. They don't want to do anything else. They want to do this work. They won't just do anything for Krishna, but they want to work in a particular way. But, maybe they're going to give something of the result for somebody else. Just like, Arjuna, he has to fight. So Krishna tells Arjuna, Karmani eva dikaraste. He said, your qualification is to fight. Arjuna's a Kshatriya. It's his nature. He has a Kshatriya nature. He's very brave, and he's a real warrior. And so his nature is to fight. His nature is not to be a Brahmana. His nature is not to go and beg. Kshatriyas don't beg. So according to one's nature, one wants to act. So they can act, but they should understand the results are not for us. So you give some of the result, you give a little bit of the result, that's Sakam Karma Yoga. But if you give a lot of the result, then it's Niskam Karma Yoga. So somebody goes to work and they're not really attached to the work, but they work. What do they do with the results?
They enjoy themselves.
So
then they are attached.
It's not Karma Yoga, right? You have to.
They are telling Guru Maharaj, sometimes they will tell work is worship.
Work
like
is
that.
worship. Yeah. Yeah, that's another bogus philosophy. Work is worship if you offer the result for God. If you give the result for the service of the Lord, then it's all right. And Prabhupada said there are devotees who work in factories and offices, and they give the result of their work for the service of the Krishna consciousness movement. He said these people are actually in the renounced order of life because they give the results, part of at least a major portion of the result they use for the Krishna consciousness movement. So that is that is actually renunciation. But somebody says work is worship. Yeah, whatever you do, it can be worship. If it depends on your consciousness, you have to know who you're working for. It's not that you can just work and you don't think about God, you don't know anything, you don't even believe in God, and you say work is worship. Who are you worshiping? And how to worship him? So Krishna says, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away should be done as an offering for me. All right, so you work for Krishna, you offer the work to Krishna. You're working on behalf, if your work is worship, then you offer that work for the service of Krishna. And you have to do it for his pleasure, for his satisfaction. And you may give some of the result, and you may give more of the result. But the consciousness is very important. If one has that consciousness that he's working for Krishna, it's very good. But it's not that just because you're working, that work is worship. You have to know who you have to have the right attitude. The mind has to be focused that I'm working for Krishna, I'm doing this for Krishna. When somebody never chants the holy name, they never go to temple, they never offer obeisances to the Lord, and they say work is worship, I don't believe it. We have to see the consciousness. The consciousness has to be there. It's not just saying something. You have to show it. You have to we have to see it by the consciousness, the heart. Right?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, well, everyone's working. Does it mean everyone is worshipping? Who are they worshipping? There are many different people worship many different things. One man was worshipping Hitler. During the war, Prabhupada said there was this one man, he made a lot of money during the war because he was able to sell goods at a high price. So he was worshipping Hitler because Hitler was keeping the war going. So he was worshipping him because he could make more money. So is that worship? You know, people worship ghosts. People worship evil spirits. Is that also worship? So you say work is worship. Who are you worshiping? You're worshiping the work? It doesn't make sense. So people talk many foolish things, you know, many nonsense philosophies. And they don't really know. They don't really think seriously about it. In the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, different kinds of worship are described. There's worship in goodness, worship in passion, and worship in ignorance. So work is worship. Somebody's working in the bar, selling alcohol. Is that worship? What kind of worship is it? Worship in ignorance. Yes. So we have to talk to these people, and we have to convince them by argument, by giving them proper logical arguments and defeat their nonsense philosophies. People talk so many stupid things, bogus, nonsense things. So we have to see through all that and give them the truth. Yes?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. There are people who say I worship other people, you know, I worship people who help me. Anybody who helps me, I worship them, you know, something like that.
Anybody who helps you, what kind of help is that? They give you money so you can buy cigarettes?
Yeah, financially or any kind of help they get from this person, he's worshipable. So how do we defeat that, Maharaj?
They don't understand what real help is. Real help is to get you out of the material world. You're in the material world and you're suffering old age, disease, and death. You're going to take another body in the material world. You're suffering. They're not helping you. They're just helping you continue your suffering. The real help is to get you out of the material world. Do you want that help? No, I just want help to get my cigarettes. I just want help to fill my belly. The bread, this is a problem. They don't know what real help is. So you want to get out of the material world, you have to worship the Supreme Lord. He's the one who can free you from this world. He can give the real help. When you worship the Supreme Lord, then he can end all the misery. The people who are helping you, they're only able to help you by the grace of God. Whatever they have, who gave it to them? Where did they get it from? They came with nothing in this world, and they're giving you, they're helping you. They're meant to, who is helping them? Who gave them? They took it from God. Everything they have came from God, but they're not recognizing who is the real proprietor. So you can tell them like that. Just like the communists, you know, they used to make propaganda to get people to join the Communist Party. And they would come to people and they'd say to people, go and pray to your God. Go and ask your God to give you bread. And the people would go to the temple and they'd pray. And then they'd come out and the communists would say, well, did God give you bread? And they'd say, no, he didn't give any bread yet. So then the communists would say to them, people, then you ask us to give you bread. So the people pray, oh, my dear communists, can you give us bread? And the communist people said, right, just wait, we will bring the bread right now. And they called up and the bread van came and they gave bread to everyone. So all the people became communists. They thought, oh, very good, these communists are greater than God. But they never asked the communists, who gave them the bread? Who gave them the wheat? Who allowed the wheat to grow? Who gave them the heat for the fire, for the oven to bake the bread? Who gave them all these facilities? Everything comes by the grace of God. We are actually all thieves. We're taking what belongs to God, but we're claiming, I'm the proprietor. This is mine. I did this. All right? It's like the gang of thieves. It's like a gang of thieves. The thieves go and steal from some rich man and then take all the gold they've stolen from the rich man's house. And then the thieves all meet together and they say, let's divide everything up honestly. They're all thieves and they're talking about being honest. Let's divide it up honestly. They stole everything. So in this material world, so many thieves are there, big thieves. They've all stolen the property of God. Prabhupada was on the morning walk and they were telling Prabhupada, this is the home of a very rich man. And he has a big oil mine. He's drilling oil. And the devotees told Prabhupada, we're going to preach to him, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, oh, really? What are you going to preach to him? So then devotees were thinking, and one devotee said, oh, Prabhupada, we'll tell him he's not the body. And Prabhupada said, do you think he will listen? And somebody else said, we'll tell him, he has to surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada said, you should tell him he's a big thief. And at the time of death, he will be punished for stealing everything. He's taking the oil from the ground. It's Krishna's oil. He's taking it for his own sense gratification. So he will be punished. He said, you should tell him like that. So everyone's a big thief. We're taking the resources of Krishna for our own enjoyment. Understand?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Simon Prabhu, do you want to read this verse?
Please. Karma naiva hi sam sithim ashita jana kadaya loka sangram evati sam pashaya kartum arhasi. Translation. King Sush as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Wherefore, just for the sake of education, the people in general, you should perform your work. It's okay?
Yes, Prabhu, yeah, good.
Purport. Kings like Janaka were all self-realized souls. Consequently, they had no obligation to perform the prescribed duties in the Vedas. Nonetheless, they performed all prescribed activities just to set examples for the people in general. Janaka was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Sri Rama. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendentally situated, but because he was the king of Mithila, a subdivision of Bihar province in India, he had to teach his subject how to perform prescribed duties. Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal friend, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they would to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in a situation where good arguments fail. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war. Even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the other party was determination to fight. So forsook a right cause, where is a necessity for fighting. Althug on who is situation in Krishna consciousness may not have an interest in the world. He still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. Experienced person in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that other will follow, and this is explained in the following verse. Thank you.
All right, so this is one example of the self-realized soul who's acting, performing his duty. Maharaj Janak. Maharaj Janaka, the father of Sita, Mother Sita, who's the wife of Lord Ram. So Maharaj Janaka he's one of the Mahajanas actually. He's one of the authorities of devotional service. So Maharaj Janaka was performing his duty as a king, as a ruler. He has a kingdom, so he has to protect everyone. He has to make sure everything is kept in order. Everyone should do their duties. The farming should go on, and the people should pay taxes and so on. And so he was a good king. He was a wonderful king. Wonderful, must have been because his daughter became the wife of Lord Ramachandra. All right, and then Prabhupada goes on to speak about the battle of Kurukshetra and how sometimes violence is necessary. Sometimes people think, oh, violence, no, you have to be non-violent. Violence is always wrong. You shouldn't get violent. But sometimes it's necessary. And Prabhupada said, when good arguments fail, then violence is necessary. If good arguments fail. So in the battle of Kurukshetra, the Pandavas, they tried everything to avoid it, but ultimately they had to fight. They even had Lord Krishna go with a message just before the battle saying, look, let's not fight, let's not have this battle. But it didn't work. They didn't want to hear. They wanted the war. Duryodhana and his brothers, they all wanted the war. And so they had the war, and so many people died. Right? So fighting can also be done by devotees. And Prabhupada talks about how it's important for somebody in Krishna consciousness to show the right example. They have to show people how to live and how to act. So people in Krishna consciousness have to be a very good example. Prabhupada certainly wanted that the Krishna consciousness movement was to train people that they will have good character and the best qualities, and they'll be a good example for the society. The world needs good examples. They need to see people who are not greedy and who are not lusty and who are not just thinking of their own self, but who are really concerned about the good of others. Good examples. We need to have these kind of leaders. Today, who are the leaders? Who are some movie star or some sportsman or some big politician? They're all greedy people, lusty people, nasty people. But devotee will have the best character, he will show the best example, and he's thinking of the welfare of everyone. Ideally, it should be like that. So everyone heard of Maharaj Janaka before? Simon, did you know about Maharaj Janaka?
Maharaj Janaka is a father of Sita.
Yes, right. Good. So he's a great devotee. But it's described here, he did his duties as a king, just for the sake of educating the people in general that we should perform work. He didn't need to do it. He could have had other people do it. He could have just stayed, he's a king. He doesn't need to do everything, but he did it because he wants to show the example. He wants other people. Because if he doesn't do it, other people will follow his example. The king has to show the right example. Must be ideal in character. Very important. You see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it tells about at the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, they did the astrological chart. They had the Brahmanas come, and the Brahmanas did the astrological chart, and then they made predictions about the character of Maharaj Parikshit, what he would be like. Because the Pandavas knew he's the heir to our throne. He's going to be our successor. He has to be qualified. He has to have the right character. There are even some temples, some temples in India. I think even things, some temples before the the man becomes a sannyasi, they will check his astrological chart. I think like Udupi, Madhvacharya's temple there, they have some young boys. They get them as very young, and they get them to become sannyasis. But they will check the astrological chart to make sure that, you know, their chart, that astrologically, that this is the right thing for them, that they have the qualification to pursue the line of renunciation. So Maharaj Janaka, he's a Kshatriya, they also have to have qualifications. They have to be very qualified. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes the qualities of the kings, that they have Ishvara Bhav, they're very powerful controllers, they can order and instruct others to do things. And they're very charitable also. Maharaj Janaka would give charity, he would give so much charity. He'd give to everyone without discrimination. He was so generous. All right. Vaishnavi?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, Guru Maharaj, we
I
can.
think we should, are we going to chant
Yeah.
around today?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, we can go for chanting.